Grandfather's brother exploits dying mother, grandfather buys land to make the estate worthless. This story is about my grandfather and how he outsmarted his brother after his brother exploited their mother. About 40 years ago my great-grandparents were dying, great-grandfather was gone and great-grandmother was on her way out, abusing morphine to lessen the pain. She was writing a will when she was sober. But she was rarely sober. Her estate was essentially what would be a multi-millionaire's estate adjusted for inflation. Her estate was in Ireland, while my grandfather and his brother were in England. My grandfather went to his local pub to see brother. He did this every Saturday night to keep in touch with his brother. This time something was different, his brother was not there. Instead, his brother spontaneously moved to Ireland and spent time with his mother, who was heavily on morphine. The morphine was clouding her judgment, and beat in mind she was writing a will. My grandfather's brother, we'll call him Lee from now on, went to Ireland to cozy up to his mother in hopes of getting her whole estate. My grandfather didn't know Lee was doing this, and didn't think much of it. Fast forward about a year and great-grandmother kicks the bucket. Funeral day arrives, and everything goes fine, until they get to the will. Great-grandmother was high on morphine when she was making the will, and everything she had in the will went to Lee. Nobody else got anything in the will. Put two and two together and everyone was pissed off at Lee, but the will couldn't be contested because there were people who signed in witness of the will, including her attorney. Lee becomes outcasted but everyone gives up on trying to save their mother's things. Except Granddad. Lee inherited a large plot of land in Ireland, nothing special, except it was in rural Ireland, it couldn't support a septic tank, and is worth a duckton of money. The house on this plot was right on the edge of the land. But the septic tank was on the neighbor's land. Lee didn't know this, so he didn't buy the land next to the house. This isn't up to building code, so the house can't be sold until the septic tank is on his land. My grandfather knew this, and bought the land surrounding this house. Lee fixed up the house and got a building inspector to inspect the house and check it was up to code so he could sell the house. The inspector caught the septic tank, and told Lee he couldn't sell the house unless the tank is on his land. Lee went to the neighbors to buy the small plot of land that had the septic tank, only to find out they sold it to my grandfather, and my grandfather was unwilling to sell the land to Lee. Lee invested easily over £300,000, before Ireland went to euro, in the house. So the house was in great shape and was supposed to be resold. Lee can't sell the house for a profit because my grandfather owns the land the septic tank is on. Lee can't put a septic tank on his land because the land can't support a septic tank. My grandfather put Lee into a checkmate where Lee has to sell the land and everything on it to my granddad. My grandfather isn't going to buy the land for anything more than €5,000, and to this day Lee still won't sell the land to my grandfather. My grandfather didn't want the land, he just wanted to return the favor to Lee. Lee is now just scraping by on his plot of land because of his stubbornness, and he still to this day won't accept defeat. TLDR. My grandfather's brother exploits his dying mother that was drugged into leaving everything in the will to him. He inherits the house and my grandfather buys all the land surrounding his brother's house so the building isn't up to building code and cannot be sold. Brother becomes broke and will not accept the extreme low ball my grandfather is offering. Edit, my grandfather spent as much time as possible with his dying mother. He was there when she went out, and he was there as much as he possibly could. At the time he had kids to take care of and a job that was not very lenient. He made do with what he could. Now to the comments. Septic tanks require maintenance. I would charge the brother a fee for maintaining his septic tank and I would charge rent because it is on my property. OP replied, don't worry, we've charged the maintenance but not rent. We don't want to piss him off too much. Nice. Keeping it on point. Your grandfather executed his revenge beautifully, and is now playing the long game. I hope your grandfather gets to see Lee finally admit defeat, but if he doesn't, I hope then that your family continues the proud tradition of screwing others as they have tried to screw you. As it should be. Does Lee have kids? If so, will you and Lee's kids continue the feud through the next generation? OP replied, yes, Lee has kids. I've never met them so I'm not sure if they'll be cashing out or holding on. My grandfather is the type that believes that the children shouldn't be held accountable for their parents' actions. What about nephews and nieces? The children of Lee's siblings are being deprived, in a manner of speaking, by the actions of Lee. Hopefully Lee's heirs and assignees will take a more reasoned approach to this matter and your family will be able to heal the rift. Nice revenge. It's kind of sad that Lee did that to his family, ruining relationships for some money. Opie replied, "Yeah, unfortunately it's not a rarity in our family." Humanity. Cheers to your grandfather and hope that he will outlive Lee so that his checkmate stands. Opie replied, "Checkmate stays as is. We're not giving up. All it takes for us to take care of our history is a little patience and a will to do so." I don't know much about septic tanks, but how come Lee's land can't support one on it? Unfortunately, this type of greed in families is commonplace. In the South, it's spot on that there will be a set of kids that will be at the house first before other siblings, just rifling through everything and taking all the best stuff. It's countless how many times I've witnessed this behavior. It's beyond disgusting. My family always ask me if I want this or that. I do not. It felt weird. I was being offered stuff from my dad before his passing. I wanted my brothers to get whatever they wanted. I have great memories and that's perfect for me. I inherited my grandmother's dining room set with the disclaimer that her still absconded with one of the chairs when my grandmother inherited it from her mother. I just hate that. It's like a puzzle with a missing piece. I don't know about this one. First, how can a large plot of land be unable to support a septic tank? Second, how is spending the last year of your mother's life with her a bad thing? I'd say he deserved the inheritance for being there to support her. Caring for a dying parent, for a year, is a personal sacrifice that should be rewarded. I have 4 kids and if one of them cared for me my last year on Earth, I would recognize it. Where I live, septic system can go dang near everywhere, even in a floodplain or directly into groundwater. They're sealed units, and for a single old person requires next to no maintenance depending on the size. Drain fields however are a different story and some land just can't support traditional ones. But there are non-discharging systems that can be installed. If OP isn't lying, I'm guessing they misunderstand the situation. Is there any chance she will him the house because he was the only one to spend time with her during her last year of life? If your family didn't know what he was doing at the time, then it seems like the rest of the family was just waiting for her to die while your grandfather's brother actually spent a fair bit of time with her. This. People love a good revenge story, but it sounds like he gave his mother a year of comfort while the rest of the family ignored her. She was all doped up on morphine, but her lawyer was there to sign the will as well as other witnesses. Something smells really off about this story. Why couldn't he contest the will, proving to a judge that the mother was drugged out and not of sound mind when creating the will? Absolutely. This will wouldn't stand up in court and it would have been split 50-50. This is not even a difficult case. It's pretty straightforward law, and if anything, the judge would rule slightly against the brother for so obviously trying this on. At least your great-grandmother didn't die alone.